All right, you want to walk around this way? I can edit it so the voice can get it. Just watch this. So right here we have a 2021 Mercedes AMG. It's a CLA35. Customer came in, brought in 18,000 miles, and he needs brakes. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to change these brakes. It's actually pretty simple, these cars. Not too bad. So here are the tools that you're going to need. You need a torque bit, T40, a hex, which is a 10mm hex, 5-plate screwdriver, brake depressor tool, and a T30. T30 is going to be, I'll show you. All right, let's get started. So there's a bolt here. It's a T30 bolt. All that does is just hold brake rotors in place. So I just like to loosen them up. Don't take it off all the way, because if you take it off all the way, when you start taking off the caliper, the whole rotor will just fall down. And if your foot's right there, that's going to hurt. Flat blade screwdriver. Let me turn it. I like to stick it in where the brake pads are. You want to get a little closer. And then I like to push the pistons back. Just push them back. And then the other side, you do the same thing. What that does is it opens up the pistons on the caliper. That way you can get the caliper off easy. There you go. All right, so there is a hex here, hex 10 right here. This is remove the whole caliper, and then to remove the brake pads, you got 4 torque bits over here. If I remember, these are T40. Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's how you remove the pads. So what we're going to do is first is just remove the hex and then remove the pads. So when you're removing the caliper on this, just have something just to hold it up, because this will just fall down. You don't want the caliper putting too much tension on the brake line, or brake hose in this case. So let's grab something. So just like put this one down here, just hold it up. Up here. So all we're doing is we're just gonna hold the caliper from falling when we loosen up those hex bolts. That's all we're doing. So anything will work, bungee will work, bungee cord will work, which I thought I had some, but I don't know where they went. So I'm using the next best thing. Doesn't have to be, don't knot the cord you're using to hold it, because you remember you still have to take it back off. Right, so we're going to loosen 2 10s, hex 10s, and down here. Just hold the cap on and just pull this off, just like so. All right. So the rotor, I loosened the bolt that holds the rotor in place. Notice how it's free. Imagine if you take that bolt out and you were taking the caliper off, this thing would just fall on you. That'll hurt. These things are big. These are big rotors. All right. And take the rotor off. There you go. Here's a pass to the other side as well. So these are the old pads. No pad material, it's just metal on that one. So new rotor, old rotor. And we've got the new pads right here, which I'll show you what they look like. So that's what a new pad looks like. This is what the old one looks like. All right, so let's start installing. But before we get installing, let's take the old pads off. So the old pads are held by 4 bolts. That's all right, it's not going off. so one pad comes off. I'm holding the caliper up. I actually took it off the hook when I did that. That's alright. There we go. Here's the other pad. Alright, here's the old pads. Don't have much material on them, but that's why they're gonna replace. Let's move this out of the way. Alright, so there's an alignment hole on the rotor itself, right there. Go to the side. That has to line up with the one on the hub. So we're gonna spin it until we line it up, just like that. I put the little bolt back in that holds the rotors. Alright, just snug it up. This doesn't have to be too tight. Again, a lot of times manufacturers will put these on just to hold the rotors in place. That's realistically pretty much all that does. The pads, you can just set it in the caliper. You don't have to go crazy until you put the bolts back in. Alright, so this little plate came off. So it just snaps in place. If this pops off, the spring, it just snaps back in place. Just set it back in there. With this caliper, we do have to push the pistons back. So we did some of it earlier in the video where we used a flat blade screwdriver. This time I got a tool for it. This is a brake spreader tool. This has two little ears and a ratchet style in the center. So I'll bring the caliper down so you can see it. Let me just get the tension on this first. Alright, so right there. Alrighty. Try to get the spreader onto the piston as much as you can, so you're not trying to push back the pistons unevenly. Right there. Just push back. Should open them up. There we go. Go the other way. There it goes. Pistons are pushed back. Now we're going to put the brakes in. So, I got two in my hand. So, just set them in there. Just like so. Once they're set in there, just sits like that. Just take the rotor, flip it. Just like so. And just slide it over the top of the rotor. Just like that. Just use the hex to set them in place. And then we'll focus on those four little bolts that hold the brake pad. I'm just putting the hex bolts in because I need something to hold it up while I just there we go. Okay, so you want to swing over here real quick. So if you can see the pads right here, and then you have these small little bolts that actually go. I'll show you. Those small bolts actually run past this notch, so it goes right through that notch and it just holds it in place, just like that. Two bolts just hold in place just like that. So we got to get those bolts through these openings. on both sides. So what I'm gonna do is, the reason I have the caliper back in is because you can actually take your hand to the front side and push the brake pads, just like so, and he'll push them towards you, just like that. So I'll push them. You can use a hand tool. I recommend a hand tool. If this is your first time, then you just get started. And if you get closer, you can see the bolt actually right in that area. And the brakes. So we'll do the other side. Hey, babe.
Hey.
So we'll do the same thing with the other side. There we go. And then I'll just actually push them in all the way. Run them in. Trust tools like that. I like to make sure I can do it with my hands first, especially brake. Make sure to tighten my hands, especially brakes. All right. So next step is tightening up the hex bolts. Snug them up, not too tight, you don't want to strip it, but not loose that'll come off when you're driving either. Alright, so if you look in here, closer, you can see how these bolts went straight through. That's holding the brake pads in place now on all four sides. And take it for a test drive, make sure everything's working properly.